Fox Business is doing some serious digging into the failures of socialism around the world. David Asman, he's been doing the digging, and he's with me now. What did you find?
Well, first of all, you know I covered Latin America for the Wall Street Journal for about 12 years. I saw a lot of socialist experiments, and it wasn't pretty. Watch.
If Americans want to see how badly socialism works, they don't have to go far. Beginning with Cuba's Fidel Castro in 1959, socialism has a dismal history of failure throughout this hemisphere. While socialist revolutionaries came to power by focusing on real problems of poverty and corruption, they often hid their goal of completely taking over the economy. Here's Fidel Castro on Meet the Press right after his 1959 revolution.
I am not communism. I am not agree with communism.
That was a lie. In short order, Castro wiped out all opposition, socialized the entire economy, and forced Cuba's once vigorous business community to escape en masse to Miami.
He did effectuate equality. He effectuated equality of misery, equality of repression, equality of poverty.
Data from 2023 indicated that extreme poverty in Cuba had reached 88% and is likely worse now. A similar pattern of events followed in other Latin countries. Venezuela, once blessed with huge oil reserves and a vibrant middle class, saw a major reversal of fortune under Fidel's socialist buddy Hugo Chavez. For years, Venezuelans have been living with hyperinflation, which peaked at 63,000% in 2018 and is now down to a still miserable 225%.
They took away our private property. They destroyed our industry through price controls, through regulations, through high taxation. And they turned what should be really one of the world's richest countries into one of the world's poorest.
But there was a kind of equality that came to pass in these countries. Everyone except the party elite became equally poor.
Important to note that those economic figures that they're estimates because, you know, they cook the numbers in these socialist countries, but I think it's at least as bad as what those numbers indicate. Now, this is hardcore communism we're talking about here, at least in Cuba, Venezuela a little less so, but it just, no matter what type of socialism was applied in Latin America, in Bolivia they had one, in Nicaragua, of course, you still have the same leaders, been there since 1979 with an interim period of democracy that didn't really last long, but every socialist experiment has failed. Every single one. You saw it in England, a kind of socialism light.
I did. I left England in the early 1970s. When I left, in England, the coal industry, water, railroads, electricity, some road transportation, car production, all run by and handled by the government. And of course, they ran things into the ground. There were blackouts, there were 3-day work weeks. The only good thing about it was a kind of socialism, that's for sure. Drove me out. But the good thing was, it was so bad that in came Margaret Thatcher.
That's the thing.
Completely changed the ball of wax. I mean, well, it was all over.
And some people, that's why some people in the Republican Party want Mamdani to be mayor of New York City, because they think if he has a chance and to implement these packages, we know they don't work. They didn't work in the UK. They didn't work in Latin America. They didn't work in Scandinavia. We will see, Americans will see that socialism, that link between socialism and the Democratic Party is going to lead to more Republican victories. But you and I have to live here. Yeah. That's the problem.
Yes. Well, I live in New Jersey.
Yeah.
We have the advantage of having
we have to work here at any rate.
Yes, we do indeed, we do. Yeah. But we're seeing a lot of New Yorkers come over the other side of the Hudson River.
Absolutely.
Because they're worried about Mamdani coming here. Yeah. Great series.
Thank you so much.
Indeed.
Appreciate it.
Any comment there, Adam?
Well, to quote Margaret Thatcher, the problem with socialism is eventually you run out of other people's money.
Yeah.
She was right, and I think that's the concern here in New York.
But New York's run out of other people's money.
I was
and
just
they're not going to get any from the administration.
Yeah, right.
So, and his plans involve much more money than what is now bankrupting the city. So it's just going to be a disaster.
Last word to Lydia.
Well, education today is not teaching the valuable lessons that David is so beautifully displaying for everyone. So this should be mandatory teaching, mandatory criteria that all young people should watch. They're not seeing this. That's why they're voting for someone like Mamdani.
Really? Would you favor of a mandatory teaching of capitalism in our schools?
I think that all forms of government should be taught, the pros, the cons, so people can choose. But right now, they're not teaching what the benefits of capitalism are versus things like
On the
socialism.
contrary, they're saying things that it is a terrible disaster
Right.
wherever it's applied, when in fact it has brought many more people, billions of people, out of extreme poverty in the 20th century.
Well, you will teach that class. Okay?
I would love to.
This is just,
Brian Brenberg.
What we just saw, that was part one of the series, Socialism Threat. Throughout the month of October, you'll be taking an in-depth look at socialism, growing popularity in America, I'm sorry to say. It starts today, and it's on Fox Business. David,
Thank you
very much.